Do not adjust your radio dial. You are tuned in to the Mark Order Podcast. Join the Mark Order.
Hello. It is Wednesday night, so apparently you're here and you should know what that means, and I'm never going to say it right because I refuse. It is me, Ryan of the Mark Order Podcast. If you saw my post today, two of my co-hosts are missing. I can't confirm where they are. Now, you may say Kate's not missing. She's on Fightful. That can't be confirmed, and I refuse to go look. And you could look, but then you're just a jerk. However, I am joined by two very firm men who are hosts of the Firmly series on Love Pro Wrestling. I have Drew and JPJ. Drew, how you doing tonight?
Hey, I'm doing great. Thanks for having us on.
Jay.
Hi. I'm fine. I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm good. Do you ever just go by Jay, or is it always JPJ?
No, I go by my shoot name.
Well, I know, but like, has anyone ever just shortened that to Jay?
No, Spencer's tried a couple things. He's called me he called me Japes. Didn't stick. Didn't stick.
Can I call you PJ?
No, because my first name's not P. No. JP. I have some people that come in and they'll if I if I raid somebody after a stream or something, they'll go, "Yo, JP." A lot of people say JP, even though that's inaccurate. But
if you were in the show Goldberg, you'd be the JPP.
Yeah, it's a great show. Yeah. It's a good show. Great might be strong, but it was a good show. It's a good show.
So again, for those watching or listening, they host every Tuesday at 10 a.m. and Thursday at 10 a.m. Right. Firmly WWE and Firmly AEW, where they talk all things Raw and then all things Dynamite. Mm-hmm. So I'm going to be very careful to get their hot takes tonight, so that I suck up all the good takes.
Yeah,
I was going to say, I'm trying to think of a question, but I mean, it's pretty. You guys have when you guys do all things WWE, you're doing Raw and SmackDown a little bit, right? I know Raw's the big one because
it's the morning after Raw, so we usually go through the whole episode of Raw for the most part, and then we'll kind of pick out the things that stuck out to us about SmackDown. But we also tend to have offshoot conversations that lead from everything, we kind of bounce around a little bit. But yeah, usually Raw is the main show we cover, and we'll hit anything from SmackDown, kind of like how we do it with AEW on Thursdays. Like tomorrow, we'll run through this whole episode of Dynamite, and then we'll be like, oh yeah, we do want to mention this on Collision. We like this, or we didn't like this, kind of.
It is amazing that both brands have that show that no matter what, even though SmackDown was the better show for a while at WWE, it does always feel a little secondary. And it has to do with nights. I think being on a weekend is just killing.
I agree. I think a Friday or Saturday is not a great night. A great night for a pay-per-view. You want to do a special, or you want to do a once a month or a once, whatever on a Friday or Saturday night. I think that's a proper night. But for a weekly episodic, no, I think Fridays and Saturdays are dead nights. And I also think I agree, one show. I mean, SmackDown, to me, the move to 3 hours, the past couple episodes have not transitioned well to it. But again, the beginning of Raw, when they went from 3 hours to 2 hours, which I thought was going to be really good, those episodes were not great for a month. So I don't know why they can't. I feel like there's always a transition time before they find their groove on the other side of things. But
I guess it's hard when you're like, we've been doing it this way.
Yeah.
And now
there has to be some leeway. There has to be some leeway. But I think Raw, again, Raw has been a couple different times, but I think since the move to Netflix, I think those two episodes have been solid. So I don't know. We'll see. But I do think when we're talking about the AEW side of things, I think one show feels secondary way more than on the other company side. Collision to me has felt like a not even a B show, like a B- show to the A show for like basically after the first like 4 or 5 months Collision was on. You know, like I feel like you can miss an episode of Collision and you're totally fine. You're totally fine.
I kind of wish they do with Collision what WWE did with SmackDown multiple times over their airs, where they're like, we know this may be the quote unquote second show, but this is where we're going to let a couple guys who might not otherwise get a chance to flourish. Like we're going to give them the time to really show out, so that it could be the show that either propels people into the bigger things or Dynamite, or becomes the bigger show because people are seeing, they're, I'm thinking like Switchblade over on Collision. Like, oh, Switchblade's killing it. I gotta go watch Collision.
Yeah,
But
they were
that's
kind
just-
of doing that for a while, but specifically with who you're just mentioning, when they had the Bullet Club Gold, which they stopped calling Bullet Club Gold for a while, or I don't even think they've referenced them as that anymore. That was
No,
really
like Bang
the
Bang
Bang
Gang.
Gang.
Yeah.
Yeah, now they call them the Bang Bang Gang. Um, they, it seemed for the first couple months after, we'll say, post-punk. See, oh, look at this. Look at this guy.
Yeah.
He just wants.
He's like,
the
what's
star
happening
of
now?
the show here.
He's like, wait, what are you guys talking about?
The star of the show.
Yeah.
I feel like Collision was very much a Bullet Club Gold Bang Bang Gang show for quite some time, before the Guns were really like fully involved with them.
Mm-hmm.
And then once the Guns were involved, that's kind of like when injuries started happening and they were on TV less. But it was really, I feel like the first, even I said once from its start to about a couple months in, like JPJ said, it really kind of just was. I remember House of Black was on there more. House of Black, Bang Bang Gang, which then became the Bang
Obviously.
Bang Scissor Gang, so
Yeah.
Acclaimed were on there more.
And there was obviously FTR was on there, Punk. Like
Yeah.
it was they didn't have separated rosters, but it definitely felt like there were certain people that were only on Collision and certain people that were only on Dynamite. And yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
I was gonna say, I don't mind that.
I don't either. I don't either at all.
I know
And-
a lot of people are saying like, "Oh, why would you want AEW to do a brand split?" Well, honestly, and maybe I wouldn't even call it a brand split because it's not like there's they don't have the WWE SmackDown and Raw style of tag teams and belts and
Yeah.
whatnot, but they do have a TNT and TBS championship at least, and both shows are on those respective channels. So you could make the TBS championship a Dynamite only thing and the TNT championship a Collision only thing.
Yeah.
It they could do little things like that. They have multiple men's singles titles. The international title could be on Dynamite, while the other one could be on Collision. Why am I forgetting the name of it? I don't know. Continental, right? Continental Collision. Yeah. See, there you go. So there are ways to, I think, kind of do it, but for whatever reason, there were always more TNT championship title defenses on the TBS show, more than before even, like when it was Rampage and Dynamite. The champions were rarely featured on Rampage, to the point that, well, there is no more Rampage.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
now it's somewhat similar with Collision as well, where the champions can be there, but it aren't always title matches. And while there are certain champions in the company right now that aren't even showing the titles, so it just feels very, I don't know, I wouldn't say disorganized is the right word, because I don't think it's unorganized, but it could definitely just be done better. Better how? I don't know. It's not my job to figure it out. Thank God, because I would probably rip my hair out.
Yeah. Like I feel
Yeah.
like right now, yeah, there any
No, go
this,
do.
like the Outrunners, right? They feel to me like an act that is Collision only. You know, they've had one
Yeah.
match on Dynamite, but it was a pay-per-view week match. It was, it was promoting the pay-per-view, but like the Outrunners feel like, oh, if you want to watch the Outrunners act or matches or whatever, you have to watch Collision. I feel like other than them, there are very few other acts that don't do both. You know?
But like again, like Drew was saying, you have so many belts. You could say like the international and the trios, their Collision. So you'll know you'll have your best trios matches, and you'll have matches for the international belt on Collision. So that leaves you the continental and the tag belts for Dynamite, and you just know that like when you want to tune in, doesn't mean you can't have a trios match on Dynamite, doesn't mean you can't have a tag match on Collision, but you just know the ones that are going to matter in those divisions occur on those nights, and that will give you a reason to be like, well, I mean, they're not defending them, so mind you, I'm saying this almost facetiously. Oh, I like the Death Riders as trios champions. Well, you got to tune in to Collision then, because that's when they're going to defend them.
Yeah,
but they're not
Right.
doing that. They're kind of like, well, the trios don't get defended at all.
They
anymore.
just don't do that at all. So I don't know, man. Like, I don't know. I'm feeling a certain. It's I really just don't understand. I've been watching wrestling for a long time. I feel like even when I feel like companies are in lulls or not doing well, I feel like as a fan, I can kind of see why, or be like, well, this is, I think, why, or have an opinion of why. I have no idea why some things are happening that are happening. Like, it just doesn't make sense to me, some of the things that are occurring. And that is where I get frustrated, because I'm like, better, because at one point you were, the birthday boy.
Oh,
You're not supposed to be here.
I'm not, but I got home and eat my birthday cake, and just wanted to pop on and say hello and thank JPJ and Drew for hopping on and filling in for myself and the other person.
Well, I appreciate that. Hopefully I hope the day was good.
happy
Hope your
birthday.
day was good.
It was good. I'm full of ribeye, of a good ribeye steak for dinner.
Beauty.
So,
Nice.
Hell yeah. Nothing better than a good steak. Nothing better than a good steak.
I caught about the last half of Dynamite. So,
all right. Okay. Well, I mean, I don't know. Yeah, this number. How do you want to do? Like, you know what I'm getting? All right. Can I just say, before we even talk about the matches, you know what I'm getting sick and tired of? People coming out to make the save the second after a limb breaks. What are we doing?
That was literally the first thing that went through my head. I'm like, the Death Riders, what they do. Why are you not just waiting there?
That is like the third time recently that the Death Riders have done that to somebody, and the person that comes out for the save has come out the second after they've done the thing. What are you doing 30 seconds earlier?
I mean, that's happened so many times.
Adam Cole did it with MJF when he broke Roderick Strong's arm tonight. What is Edge doing? Where were you 45 seconds ago? Get out there.
They really pick and choose when you want to have a smart face. There's no rhyme or reason.
Unbelievable. It's like, so that second, the second after he did it. Oh, that's the time? That means you were ready? Excuse me? Unbelievable.
I mean, you're not getting arguments from the chat.
If you're Hobbs, do you thank him for that? Oh, thanks for coming out there after he broke my ankle. Thanks, man.
Where were you?
Thanks.
I mean, like Fernando Zayas said, worst save they've ever seen.
It's unbelievable.
Big G, dumb babyface syndrome. Ophelia just saying nice tiara, but
I mean, it is.
She's not really commenting on the save.
They're feuding, and she's even being nice. Wow.
Well, I'm not gonna be nice to Joe just because it's
that's
his
fine.
birthday.
That's fine, but I mean, I didn't expect it. I didn't expect it.
Yeah, I'm gonna break his leg in a chair, and then Drew's gonna run in 30 seconds later.
Not even 30.
That's
try 0.30.
It's literally like they were standing at the entrance, and it's like,
yes.
Right, as soon as he snaps that, we go.
Yes, they started beating him up right after that match. He's paying attention. So you see them they all get in the ring, immediately start beating down Hobbs for like a good, probably over a minute. And then they go get the chair. What are you doing? What do you do? Come on.
That thing doesn't even really bother me that much anymore. Only because, like,
Because it happens so often, you're just numb to it.
well, I mean, there are a lot of things that happen.
I know.
A lot at this point that I'm really
I thought that
kinda
main event was
apathetic
great,
to.
though. I thought that main event was great. But
My thing, and we've talked about it on our show. My main thing, I'd say my biggest gripe about the company right now is their lack of capitalizing on people who are hot when they award them titles. It's like you give Private Party the tag team championships that they've been wanting for 5 years, and then they're never on TV after they win it.
I will say from day one, AEW's biggest struggle is babyface champions.
Yeah.
They don't know how to. You might get like
Well,
one or two good feuds with a babyface champion, but rarely is it a consistent run.
I will say honestly, as much as I love her as champion, I think she fits the championship really well. I don't think Mariah's run has been great, only because it really feels like every challenger that she's had since tonight, where we know who she's going to be facing at Grand Slam, has just been exactly it's obvious. It's obvious. They've all just been there as placeholders to wait for Tony Storm. It never have seriously thought that one person that she's faced in the last 6 months since All In was going to take the title from her.
That's
Not
saying
one
something
time.
because she faced Thunder Rosa, a former champion, and she wasn't a viable threat.
Nope.
No. And the same thing goes with, for as short of a reign as he's had so far, Daniel Garcia. He's faced Mark Briscoe, and I think he had one other championship defense, if I'm remembering correctly. I don't remember who it was. I might not even be right.
Yeah.
Oh no, because he wins the title immediately. He's in the Continental Classic.
Yeah.
Like,
Truthfully,
So the next
best
5 or
champs-
6 matches of his is not for the title that he just won, that everybody was pumped and ready for him to win.
Yeah.
So
I
it's
mean,
like,
truthfully,
okay, well,
the best champs are the ones who just do open challenges.
I thought Swerve was a good babyface champion.
Swerve was the exception. Orange Cassidy when he was just taking on everyone.
Orange Cassidy yes.
I mean, I'm not looking to be like, oh well, but it does seem to not actually be just an AEW issue. If I really think about it, apparently it's just very difficult to book champions. Because if you look at like even WWE, they struggle with it too. Roman's run was very boring, except when it wasn't. Like, if you really think about it, when he had the couple blown, Cody's run, nothing to do with the wrestler. Just there's nothing there. Their women's champs running the same thing. And AEW, again, that to me is their biggest flaw is their champions. But is it just really tough to book a champ? Be like, what do we have these people do?
I mean, it feels like it shouldn't be. Yeah, but then the same companies book champions. Gunther's an example of both. Gunther as IC champion was one of the best title runs that company has had in a decade. And him as world champion, he wasn't even featured on the debut of the show. He's the world champion on the biggest network not a network, you know what I mean? They debut on Netflix. He's the champion of the show. And they had a great vignette for him. Yes, I understand that. That vignette was badass, but he wasn't even on the show.
Yeah, his
world champion
reign was amazing.
Oh my God. It was better than Roman's.
He wasn't really, I don't want to call him open challenge, but he was another one of those guys who was just like, I'm going to keep defending this. And so it seems to be just like the best champions are the ones who are constantly defending.
Yeah,
because
that's what because
you-
people want to see fighting champions,
yeah, like
whether you're
Mariah's
good or
problem,
bad.
yeah, Mariah's problem isn't that she's having bad opponents. Her problem is they'll do one and then they'll space it out like a month. They'll do another. They'll space it out. Like if she was facing these women one right after another, people would be like, okay, like you're the, or don't wrestle at all. I mean, I don't love it. It's my least favorite way a champ does it, but at least you could say like they're trying to do the whole, again, Roman, MJF, whatever, where they don't wrestle until it's a big pay-per-view or whatever. But that's to say that Mox's run has sucked. I mean, let's just be fair. His run's been. I don't get the titles in the briefcase at all. Here's my problem: is announcers are kind of like, we know they're in there. At least we think they're in there. We don't know what's going on. It's like they've never actually explained why they're putting them in the briefcase.
Yeah.
And
Tonight, I feel like they referenced it more than usual.
Yeah, but like, why are they in a briefcase? Like, what is that? What is that doing?
I hate that it's in the briefcase now at this point. Like, I was telling JPJ on our show that like before A World's End, the story beat was obvious that like, whether or not they've shown the title for and it had been at that point it had been I think 3 months since Wrestle Dream, so to have already not seen the title for 3 months from Wrestle Dream to World's End, and then the the whole point of World's End, as I had taken it, as it seemed a lot of people had taken it, is that at the end of that show, somebody's world ends, just like it did last year, the year prior with MJF and Adam Cole, when they did the whole devil turn on him and everything. So this year, it seemed like the natural progression, the natural World's End style of story to tell was the company's world ending, with the Death Riders standing tall as the supreme leaders of the company, as John Moxley and everybody were kind of alluding to in all their promos leading up to that show. I remember we were doing our show on Thursday, and I don't remember who. I don't know if it was our commenter Johnny. Somebody had mentioned like the flare gun going up in
the truck promo.
in that when they were in the back of the truck in the desert, and that was like the signal that they were like the saviors coming to save AEW and stuff. And it's like, if you look at the way the story's going,
there is no story.
Well, now
the story hasn't moved
clear.
in 2 months.
The way that it was going
annoying.
pre-World's
I'm trying
End,
to say,
the way it was going pre-World's End seemed like World's End was setting up to do this major thing that was going to finally be the reveal of what's going on with the Death Riders, whether it's a new leader or someone, maybe they reveal a new championship, which is why it had been hidden this whole time. And that show ended, and the only thing we got from it was, 51-year-old Adam Copeland is the World's End of the Death Riders.
yeah, I'm.
The one thing
I
I'm
said
taking away from this is a Dodge Ram commercial. I feel like all I ever see them is in their Dodge Ram every night.
Yeah.
So
It's
like,
just
why now we're 2 or 3 weeks removed from there, and there's been zero, like you guys said, there's been zero storyline progression since, like, I'll say a month after Wrestle Dream, which was 3 months ago.
yeah.
It's gotten to a point where it's got diehard fans of this company, and of even, I mean, it's not like there's nobody in both the Death Riders and Rated FTR that people hate. Like everyone loves Wheeler Yuta, everyone loves Claudio, John Moxley, Marina Shafir, Pac, Edge, Adam Copeland, Cope, whatever the heck we're calling him these days, and FTR. But they've been stuck in this rut for so long. When it comes to the Death Riders, at least, they've been stuck in this thing for so long that people just don't care anymore. And it's not because of the performers themselves necessarily. It's because it's just being booked to shit. People don't want to hear the rambling promos anymore from John Moxley. They don't want to have, when Kenny Omega is coming back, Adam Copeland be the one to go after John Moxley. It should be Kenny Omega going after John Moxley.
I mean, yeah, I don't know how they didn't do that immediately.
You know, and for Kenny comes back immediately. He's thrown back right back in with the Don Callis family, which you know the stuff was really good tonight, but it's just like we gotta progress things. We've got to move on from certain things, and rated FTR just ain't it for a lot of people. And now this thing that's happening on Saturday with the Learning Tree, holy shit!
You're
I have
excited,
not-
right?
Are you?
Oh
How do you
my
feel
God, we're
about it,
gonna
Ryan?
learn.
Tell me, no, honestly, tell me how you feel
It's
about it.
It's
I
a lot
wanna
of
know how
guys,
you feel about
motherfucker.
it. No, there is no way you are in on that. Make that make sense to me why the Death Riders would team with anybody and why anybody would want to team with them. Anybody in the chat? Anybody? Please. Please.
I'll tell you what.
Motherfucker.
I got nothing.
Exactly.
I'm hoping it falls apart, and that's like, see, this was never gonna work.
It's just,
Well,
it's the,
it fell apart the other day when
yeah,
it
it felt
announced.
once they released that, it fell apart.
No, I
Like-
mean like the team falls apart. Like that, like it's proving that like they can't actually, like just throwing them together.
I just
But
can't envision them standing next, like on the apron. They're just going to be chumming it up, standing next to, like, no, it's not who they are. They try to kill people, literally kill people.
Well, I mean, we'll see who they kill. But before we do, I know Joe's had a long
Yeah.
day of partying.
Yes.
So Joe, I'm not doing a commercial tonight. Just gonna give us a little different feel of pace. So I'm gonna say, everyone watching, check out our Pro Wrestling Tees store, Pro Wrestling Tees Mark Order Pod, and check out the Shining Wizards Network, all the great shows on there. A lot of wonderful people. So please check out all those shows. Joe, any final words?
I wish I had something prepared, but I don't. No, I thank you guys for filling in again, and hopefully the rest of the show was good, and hopefully some other stuff makes more sense than the Death Rider stuff.
I think we all want it to make sense. It just doesn't, but happy birthday. I hope you had a great birthday.
Happy
I hope you had a
birthday.
great birthday today. So
You guys,
Happy birthday, Joe.
well, tomorrow, have a good show tomorrow, guys.
see you later, my
Thank
friend. There he is.
So
The birthday boy.
Thank God that guy's gone.
I'm not saying. I like Joe.
Yes, I like him too. That was the first time we actually on camera together. I know this is turning into just a big shit fest. Which sorry, didn't want it to turn into.
Oh, we coulda known.
Don't worry, I'm gonna get us positive in a little bit. I have a lot of positive thoughts.
It's just like the stagnation of so much of this has really bothered me. Like just having no progression, and then on top of that, the story or lack thereof of a story, honestly, it just feels like so many things are going on. I believe I said this to JPJ maybe a week or two ago. It kind of feels like we're back in the Cody-verse again.
It is a little Cody-verse,
Like,
where they're like
there's
their own thing.
So many pieces that are moving completely parallel with each other and not crossing at all. It's like the Death Riders are doing this thing. Kenny Omega is doing this thing. The Young Bucks and the New Elite were doing this thing. And nobody's actually. And there was that point at the end of the with the Bucks leaving that they started kind of like interweaving.
Yeah, they
But
tried
that
to
was
like
just
tie it all
that.
together, but
Yeah, it was just that one little time with the paper shredding thing, and then that's never been like. Now they're in New Japan with New Japan titles, and they're not even coming back to their own company that they're the EVP of. So I don't know. It makes from an outsider looking in, it really kind of feels like there's the people at the top, and they're all doing their own thing
Mm.
that they want to do, and Tony Khan is signing off on all of that stuff. And then Tony takes guys like Private Party and Daniel Garcia and FTR and Adam Copeland and a bunch of guys and girls and just sort of like, hey, so we're just gonna do this, and then next month we're just gonna do that, and nothing it doesn't seem to make sense anymore. It's sad because I do like I am. We started firmly AEW. It's got to be like about 2 years ago, maybe a little over 2 years
Yeah.
ago, and I remember every single time AEW was around my area, I was taking off of work to go and see their fucking shows.
I do feel like it's lost its luster. I will say that. I will say, like, I still like the product. Like, I thought tonight's episode was good. We'll get, obviously, I assume we'll talk about it more in depth.
oh yeah, we're
'cause
gonna.
I do think there's a lot of good that was on. There was more good than bad on tonight's episode. I know we're like, all of a sudden, it does feel like we're, being a little
No,
too
I mean,
negative.
we're
But like,
kinda just negative on one thing, which is
Yeah.
the way they handled. I will say when the Death Rider story started, however many months ago, I can remember saying on this podcast, you cannot do this storyline if you don't know where you're going with it.
Mhm.
You
But it felt like
cannot
they did,
promise
right?
this- yeah, but that was my concern, is that they were promising this big overarching story with this almost like a greater power involved, and I'm not meaning like mystically, I mean like somebody with money or something.
Mm.
And then I said, but if you're gonna do that, it can't be lame. Like you can't choose someone who just doesn't make any sense. And you have to have a plan. You can't, because this is what happens when you don't have a plan on this type of story, things stagnate. And it
Yep.
feels like, and also they've given up on it being a whole company. I've said this every week. The biggest problem is they gave up on it being a whole company story.
Correct.
It quickly became a Death Riders only story. And that just doesn't work. It would work if they kept the motive of like, they'd have to be willing to sit a lot of guys on the sideline, but it's like if you take out Orange Cassidy, he's the sideline. Take out Powerhouse Hobbs on the sideline. You have to take someone else. You'd have to take out like 3 or 4. Darby Allin, he's on the sideline.
Mhm.
If you can take out like a half a dozen, like maybe a 3 or 4 more, but you got to be pointing it out that look who we're putting on the sideline. You might be able to be like, well, wait a minute, they're sitting all our stars. They have been attacking the whole company. We just haven't seen it. Like,
Yeah.
I don't think they'll get there. The match itself, we'll start there because it doesn't
Oh,
have
yeah.
an order here. Match itself was good. Powerhouse Hobbs is awesome.
Very
Moxley's
much
awesome.
liked it.
I have a question for both of you. Was the blood real?
I think so. It was gnarly, though.
No,
That was gnarly blood.
There was a moment where I went, it just kind of, not that it didn't look real, it's just that where it was coming from. Like it was kind of like in the ear area, right, of Moxley.
Yeah, it's when they said that he bit his earring off, right? Or like bit his earring out or bit
But there was,
somewhere
I
around
don't know,
there.
it didn't look like it was pooling and like dripping like
Yeah.
regular blood. So it was a little confusing. But I mean, that stuff doesn't really bother me at the end of the day.
Yeah. But they went, if I'm mistaken, and I could be because my mind is terrible. They went to commercial after that, right? Like they came back from commercial and he was busted open. Like we didn't see him all. Like we saw the bite,
Yeah, yeah.
but we
I think
didn't see it immediately, right? Like didn't they go to commercial shortly after that?
Yeah.
So maybe
There's
because
there's
I
pictures of him on there, and I don't really see a bite that would lead to that kind of blood.
I will say at the end of the match, there was a camera angle that showed him ear first. And it felt I was like, oh, I want to see it because like I've seen earrings get ripped out, and you can tell an earring's been ripped out of the ear, and like his earring was still in his ear.
That's what I
His
like.
ear
I'm
looked
literally
like
looking
it
at a
was
picture right
fine,
now.
you know. So
I'm looking at a picture, and there's like a big cake of red, but it doesn't look like what I've seen when ears have been messed up.
yeah,
It's usually like I've seen them too, and it's so. I mean, listen, I'm not complaining if it's fake. I'd actually prefer it if you tell me right now that they're
It
doing.
doesn't bother me. But
It's if you can pull it off, like because it looked good enough that I'm debating it. So
Yeah.
to me, it's like if you can pull it off where it looks real or looks like that's perfect because safety first. There's no reason to actually bite off a guy's ear, but usually to cause that much blood, you have to have actually
done it.
Yeah, because the ear is not a that part of the ear. It bleeds, but not quite like he was bleeding. Like you really have to mess that ear up for it to
Oh yeah,
which again, I'm okay for creative use of that stuff. Like
it's gross. It's gross.
Yeah,
I will say though, Powerhouse Hobbs belonged in that match.
Yeah.
He looked he was great, and the crowd was really behind him. Even though they were in Cincy, the crowd was behind Mox too. But like that crowd was behind Hobbs. Like that, the crowd is the AEW fans, and I assume the three of us, but myself included. Yeah, dude, that guy's legit. He is a main eventer, future world champion. Like that guy showed that he belonged tonight, and that at that level, big time.
Yeah,
big time.
So the problem is the story makes more sense if he's gone for a little while.
Yes,
because they broke his ankle or whatever they did. Plus, again, it feeds into my story of like you keep taking out these guys. This would be the third guy they've taken out. It's not going to make up for all these rough months, but you could finally maybe start telling a story like, look what we're doing. We're silent. But he's not been back that long. I don't want to see him like he's not the guy I want put on the shelf for this story. Like,
yeah.
But
at
again,
the end, I have a feeling when Mox finally does lose, it's going to be in this match where all these people, you know what I mean? Like the Death Riders are going to try to get involved, and every single person that the Death Riders took out is going to come out to be like, no, screw you. And they come out, one of them takes out Claudio, one of them takes out Wheeler, the other one takes out Pac, someone takes out Marina, and like all these, they're all going to come back to say, no, you took us out, and they're going to help whoever that guy that they pick is the guy to beat Moxley. I feel like that's what we're going to get.
That's going to be very WrestleMania 40 main event night too.
Yeah. I think that is, I have a feeling that's where we're going. Because I do like the idea of them leaning into that story that Ryan said. Like that's Ryan saying, hey, they did. Darby's not on the show anymore. Orange Cassidy's not on the show anymore. Hobbs isn't going to be on the show maybe for a few weeks now. We'll see what happens because I assume Adam Copeland is the next guy for Moxley. We'll see if they do something and, it's similar to that. I don't know. Exactly. Where was Spider-Man or Venom? Yeah, there's Avengers I feel like that's what they're doing.
It makes sense, and I'm not disagreeing. Like I'm clearly laid out part of it, and you're right. It does.
Yeah. I
don't know why they're gonna make Darby the guy though.
I still got a feeling that he's the guy. If I had to pick anyone, I still think it's him.
That appears to be the consensus for probably good reason. Like I don't think people are saying, "Oh, it's Darby," just because. Like it seems like. Did we lose Drew?
No, I'm here.
No.
Okay.
I couldn't tell. I had a thought in my head. I do this when I'm on with JPJ all the time, where I just kind of like stare off a little bit because I get this thought.
You don't blink. It's actually quite skilled.
It's kind of crazy, right?
But I don't see Darby. I like Darby. This is not a knock on Darby. I don't know why this is his story.
I mean, look, they're gonna have somebody that is This is why the
Mr.
Copeland, it has to be Mr. A, like been there since, an original pro AEW, and that's a very short list. It's a very short list. Darby's on that list.
I had
Kenny
a thought.
Omega is on that list.
I had a thought about
know?
like who could really be the guy? Because listen. This is gonna sound terrible, and I really don't mean it in a bad way because I do love
Drew is
Darby.
just so negative tonight. Why is he? You're just so negative. Bringing me down, man.
I'm not trying.
Bringing me. God forbid. What do I have to drink? Do I have to spike my coffee tomorrow to be ready for the show?
No. I'm gonna be better. I promise.
It's getting all the
Good.
negativity.
Yeah,
out
get
now.
the negativity out on a show that we
I-
were invited on as guests. That's how we
I
do
feel
it.
really, Ryan. You know I love you, and I don't.
Hey, Drew,
mean
welcome
be
to the
all
show for the
negative.
first time. Wow.
Don't worry, I'll counteract his negativity soon.
I kind of feel like this whole Mount Everest thing is ridiculous.
If
And
he wants to do
listen,
it, he
it's
wants to
something
do
that
it, though.
it's something that you want to do, and I respect him for wanting to do it, and I think, you have all the power in the world to you. Like absolutely. That's something that you want to do. Awesome. But you want to do that right when a company owner wants to strap the rocket to you and like
No, he
you
wanted
know-
to do it last year when they weren't going to do it, but he got hurt.
Yeah, he broke his
He
foot
wanted
last
to
year.
do it last year.
Yeah, he was gonna. I remember he was gonna do it last year.
Yeah.
But then, like, couldn't he just do it next year?
How many years are you going to delay it? He gets older. It's
Yeah.
harder the older you get.
Yeah,
my
but,
thing,
it's
though,
only
is-
a year. If
My
I'm
thing,
if
though,
I'm
is-
Darby, right? If I'm Darby, and I don't remember when the story came out that he was doing it. It was like late November or whatever. And I go to Tony Khan's office and I'm like, hey, so Tony, in April of 2025, I'm gonna go and climb Mount Everest. And I really, it's just something that's a passionate thing, and I really want to do it. And I wanted to do it this past year, but then my ankle broke and a bus hit me in fucking New York and all this stuff, so I didn't get to do it. And then I'm sitting there in Tony's office, and Tony looks at me and he goes, that's really awesome. Congrats on you for doing that. I kind of want to put the world title on you at Revolution, though.
He's like,
I'm
sorry.
saying, oh, you want to put the world title? You want to strap the rocket to me? You want to make me the face of this company? Mount Everest can wait till next year. Yeah, what the hell? This company that I've talked so highly about and I truly love and I feel is the best place for me right now, wants to put the world title, the top title, on me. And I'm going to say, I gotta go climb a mountain first. It leaves a little bit of a sour taste in my mouth. Not that I hate him. I don't hate him by any means. But
So
it's just
we get that you hate Darby. We understand that, but
Hates him.
and I see where you're coming from. But and listen, I don't understand climbing Everest. Would not be on the top 1 million things
I would die
try in my
immediately.
life.
I would die immediately.
Even if I could do it,
way up probably.
The second I got to the second I got to the part where it slightly gets dangerous, I am dead.
guys, have you? I'm assuming you've both seen the Murder Horn episode of The Simpsons.
Yes,
Homer climbs the
I
mountain.
have.
I'm Homer, using all my oxygen tanks before I've
Yes.
even left base camp.
Not even close.
Like it's, but but I do understand for him. It's like this is a once in a lifetime opportunity. You never really know like what the future is going to hold.
Yeah.
If you're healthy to do it this year, because you only have so many months in a year to climb it. Like it's only got a very short. It's only got a period, I believe, during the year where it's really like climbable. I blame more Tony. Like then like, I mean, I guess Tony could be firm and say no, but in other words, like okay, but then sorry, like we're gonna book around. We're gonna
that's the thing.
You're like
that's what has to happen then. It's like
Yeah.
okay, you're gonna go and climb Mount Everest.
yes.
I'm gonna pray every goddamn day that you come back from that in one piece.
Yeah,
because
sure.
that's something that many people have not come back from. And sorry, but now on Tony's side, I'm going okay. So Darby's out. Kenny Omega or Adam Copeland? I am picking Adam Copeland as much as I love Adam Copeland. It's like
So my
Kenny
thing
Omega's
is,
back. He just had that absolutely friggin' banger of a match with Gabe Kidd in New Japan. And his first thing back here is to just go back and do Don Callis family stuff. He should
hear
want
me
to
out.
save this company from
Well,
the evil bastards that are keeping titles away and holding the company hostage. And, I was like, all right, well, here's the Don Callis family and Brian Cage, which the match was great. I enjoyed the match, actually.
we're gonna get to
That's,
that next, but
Oh yeah.
yeah. So, I don't know.
hear me out on that though.
I feel bad about being negative about it all the time, but I
Well,
just,
hear, there's still a story where Kenny could be the guy. Because first of all, Kenny came
Well,
back and said
he's
not
gonna
doing
be
it
the
for
yeah.
he's not doing it for revenge. He's not. So like they've kind of told why he's not necessarily going right for Mox. I don't know what they're going to do with the Cope stuff. He's clearly a stopgap.
Mhm.
If I didn't firmly believe, and I think you guys got me saying firm and firmly a lot more than I usually do. But if I didn't firmly believe that Darby was the guy, the story you tell is that it's Kenny and the Bucks come back to help Kenny.
All right.
They have like a revelation of like what they've done wrong in their life.
I'm gonna raise my hand. You go. I want you to finish.
No, and then they come back and it's the EVPs saving the company they founded. Okay.
With Adam Hangman Page, because this whole Christopher Daniels story is Christopher Daniels trying to get the old Adam Hangman Page back because he knows they need the elite to rid of the Death Riders.
I'd be fine with it. Though you don't get the old Hangman back. You get a new Hangman, which is a mix where he's not a complete sociopath, but he still has sociopathic tendencies.
Yeah. That's
like-
the end. That's the end of this story, right? It's going to be the elite who kill the Death Riders.
That
That is
be.
where this is going.
my problem then becomes, how long do we wait for that?
Well, that's a whole different story. And
I would
We
say
don't
double
have-
or nothing.
yeah, that's
I would say double or nothing in May would be. Or I don't think you want to save it for All In Texas because that's too far away.
no.
Well, you
I
know
do
what
double-
though? Now that I'm thinking about it, Double or Nothing is the perfect place to do something like that, specifically regarding Mox and Kenny, because that was the first big pay-per-view that they faced each other.
Mm-hmm. That's where Mox showed up and beat him up.
Right, that's where you beat him up, right? Sorry,
Yeah,
that's what I meant
double
to
or
say.
nothing.
So that like 5-year culmination of the story between the two of them would make a lot of sense, and it is a long time from now. Still, it's 5 months, but you do the rated FTR thing.
Then look at Tony Khan finds filler for 90% of the stuff we see. He'll have no problem.
You find filler for
figuring
this.
it out.
They have enough talent that they can fill in.
Oh,
and no
for
one can be
sure.
like, oh God,
Yeah,
this
for
is
sure.
great.
Yeah.
For sure.
But if you're going to do that, you don't start laying them right now, but you start laying those hints down in like March, early March, that this is where we're going. Actually,
I think they're doing it now with Christopher Daniels a bit.
yeah, you
with
start
Hangman.
leaving. Yeah, you're right. You start leaving the breadcrumbs start now.
Yeah.
And they keep getting better and better and better until like there's no doubt where this is going. And again, the Bucks and the people are gonna say, well, the Bucks were heels. Again, first of all, it's wrestling. People flip flop all the time. It's not a big deal. Second of all, you do a vignette where they like explain like they went away. They went home to their families and their kids were like, "What are you doing?" And they had to go, sit and learn and then they went back to New Japan where it all started from them. And they had this whole this is who we are. That's the story I would tell.
Well, and the thing is too, I absolutely agree with that. I think that would be a great story. But also, if you remember, they didn't really leave AEW as heels necessarily. Like they were, you would say, on the heel side of the roster, but that last couple weeks before they were shredding the documents and hightailed it out of there, they were looking like they wanted to help the baby faces.
They were
And it
starting to
was,
have like
Second
a
thoughts.
crisis.
Yeah, it
Yeah,
felt like
like
they were
that.
having second thoughts of like, should
and
we
it
go
was
down there?
Jack
You know?
Perry. It was Jack Perry that was like, oh, forget, like pulling them back and
Mhm.
trying to snap them out of it.
What the
So
hell happened to him?
There's another one. Another
well, I
one.
mean, we all assumed that it was going to be he lost the title at Full Gear because he was going to join the Death Riders.
Yeah,
at
it
World's
was getting
End.
that vibe that was a possibility, but they seem to, he's another guy that's kind of been put aside for a little bit, and it's a shame because I thought he was doing some of the best work of his career. I was digging him. I was okay that he lost the belt. I kind of knew that was going to happen, but like I would think that he would still have a prominent role after that. He was doing good stuff, really good stuff.
So this is the last. I'm going to get into a very positive thing in a second, but it's the last negative thing I want to say. They have a lot of wrestlers, but they also have a lot of TV time. If they can figure out ROH's TV deal and actually dedicate like proper time to it and like not make it an afterthought, what they should do is you have ROH be a mix of like developmental plus guys not being used on AEW. You then, like we said, you spread out Collision and Dynamite to have everyone have like you should never go a few weeks without one of your like someone like Jack Perry not being around unless that's like actually built into the story. There's no a feud doesn't have to like and part of the thing is a feud doesn't have to be on every week either though. Like you could start a feud this Dynamite and not show it for 2 Dynamites, but like as long as like you're getting there. Like
and you can just remind people, you talk about it on commentary or you show a quick little recap and you can keep. Again, I don't want to. I hate that I compare companies, but there was a feud last year in WWE where the guy was injured and not on TV for months at a time, and it still remained the hottest feud in the company. Like there's ways to do that. You know what I mean? You just gotta.
They have 4 hours of TV.
Yeah,
they could be using so many more wrestlers.
Yeah, big time, big time.
Yeah, it's funny that you mentioned that because I had also had a thought somewhat recently of why don't they just do bi-weekly storylines? Like you have a so this week is
you do something and then next week would be a different like
next week
batch
is
of show.
something different, but weaving in with like video packages and whatever. Hey, this is what's going on. Next week you're gonna see so and so in a match, and you're gonna see this person talking and whatever. And then the following week they show the new stuff, and then they do the video packages and tell you of what's gonna like that I would have no problems with that at all.
But you can also do something where like you tell a story like just so people don't catch on to your pattern. You can tell a few 2 weeks in a row and then give it off a little bit. Like it doesn't have to be 1 week every, but essentially that's what you're doing. You're spreading it out so that like you said, every other week is the idea, but just so people don't go like, well, I don't have to watch this week because the only feud I care about is this. It won't be on. No, some weeks you do the back-to-backs just to keep it spicy. But I've always wanted that. Like there is absolutely no. Well, part of the problem is when you show a feud, and this is all companies. This is not AEW specific. This is TNA too. Like it doesn't matter if you have weekly television. This is your problem. When you keep showing a feud every week, it makes it feel like it's been going on far longer than it has.
Yeah, I agree.
So I want it to conclude far quicker than they would probably want it to. So when I see the Death Riders we'll stick to one that we're going to all enjoy, which is probably Takeshita versus Omega. If I see Takeshita versus Omega every week, I'm going to want Takeshita versus Omega to be done in about 3 to 4 weeks. If I see it every other week, you're going to get like 3 months out of that where I'm like, well, they're kind of dancing around it. Like I'm not getting burnt out on the story you're telling.
Yeah.
And that's across the board. Once they went weekly episodic in wrestling, that's been the problem they all have. They want to have their biggest stars on every show. Well, the problem with that is you're going to burn through your stories like so quick because I get sick of it. It's very rare that a story holds my attention where I'm like, it's been 6 months of this story and I'm still on board and I've seen it every week.
Yeah. I think there's ways around it. They just need to, sometimes you just got to think outside the box and be creative. And I feel like that's the thing that, again, I'm not as trust me, like there's definitely a problem. There's an issue somewhere. Like there's an issue, you know? But I think sometimes you just need to think outside the box and just try to get creative. And I feel like AEW right now is lacking creativity. I think that's what
they come. I don't even think we're that far out of the box. I look at just TV shows, right? And you look at like an ensemble TV show, and you go to like HBO that makes like the best TV shows. You look at a show, The Wire. You can look at a show, Game of Thrones, The Sopranos. Sopranos maybe not because they always had Tony in it, but like The Wire, Game of Thrones, there'd be whole weeks, if not multiple, where you didn't see a major storyline that people were invested in.
Mhm.
Like you'd go whole weeks where that storyline just didn't exist.
Yeah.
And then they'd come back to it, and it just allowed it to exist through the whole season. Because if they had told it all week after week, that story's done halfway through the season.
Yeah.
And they're trying to get to the end of the season. So, like, just apply that same theory to wrestling. I don't need to see Omega and Takeshita every week. It's not to say that I don't need to see Omega every week. It's not to say that I don't need to see Takeshita every week. I don't need to see Omega and Takeshita.
Yeah.
Like, this is also a wrestling company where you can just have Omega go out and wrestle someone and mention the story he's kind of involved in, but say like he's building himself up. Like you don't have to like dedicate time. Like it just seems, but even I would hold him off. Personally, I would just wouldn't put the wrestler on. I'd spread it out. You have enough high-end talent where like you don't have to have everyone on every show.
Mhm.
It just doesn't make sense.
I agree.
But that being said, Kenny Omega was on tonight's show.
Yeah.
And he had a hell of a match against Brian Cage. Not surprising. These two have wrestled before, and it's always good. Brian Cage is a funny guy. I've not always been into the characters he's had, but I can't deny how good he is in the ring. Like, especially when he's going against a high-end wrestler, he does things a guy his size shouldn't do.
Mhm.
And it was very back and forth, but it ended with Omega hitting the one-wing angel, and they made a big deal about the fact that he got Brian Cage up on his shoulders.
Yeah.
And he nailed it. Of course, after the match, I knew it was going to happen, and I can't get mad. I like gang warfare, so I can't get mad that like the beatdowns happen. But you have Lance Archer in the ring, and you know instantly he's going to go after Omega. It's like common sense. So then Kyle Fletcher comes down, but then Ospreay comes out, but then Takeshita comes out, and that changes everything because now you have uneven odds again, and Omega and Ospreay get beat down after the match. The match itself was awesome. The beatdown was what it was.
Mm-hmm.
Drew, tell me why I'm wrong. You're
What?
Well, I'm loving something, so why am I wrong?
See what happens, Drew?
No, listen. I didn't have a problem with any of this.
I thought this
Kenny Omega is the highlight of my life. So I have anything that he's doing. As much as I would rather him be doing stuff with Jon Moxley, I am not going to hate a single damn thing that he does.
Yeah,
because
like
he makes everything turn to gold.
We are going to get soon a Kenny Omega versus Kyle Fletcher, and that match is going to feed everybody. Like that match is going to be incredible. So like I knew once they announced this match with Brian Cage, I knew that this was going to hump like it did. Like who didn't, you know? And it was like, oh my God, this is going to
Brian Cage is a guy that I forget is as good of a wrestler as he is.
Yeah.
Well, now he looks normal, but for a while there, he looked so silly that you were like, when he had like the weird beard and like the whatever, you're like,
I do like the look with the regular beard and regular
He
hair.
looks
I
much
do
better
like
with
his
the
look
regular
right now. I think he looks.
I feel like he looks a lot more
good.
like Jake something.
A little bit. Or would you
Drew,
say
thoughts?
That? Yeah. Drew wishes everybody looked like Jake something.
I mean, I legitimately feel that way, but I just think it's funny that Drew's here.
Yeah. Yeah.
If everyone really looked like Ricochet, though, that would
okay.
be...
Speaking of,
well, we'll get to him in a second.
Yeah,
I will say, and I'm being positive, but this is one of those things where a simple change could help this storyline not burn out. Now, they wanted to do that this week because I think they were trying to introduce the Takeshita Omega thing. Like, that's going to be a big deal. But the advantage of stables is you can have multiple matchups that make sense for no other reason than people hate each other. So, like, Omega facing Brian Cage makes sense because Cage is part of the Callis family. So you can now have Omega versus Kyle Fletcher. You can have Omega versus Archer. So say next week you have Omega versus Lance Archer. A small change that would keep this from feeling repetitive is having, I mean, they don't really have Tony says, but having the authorities of AEW say if anyone comes down after the match, interferes in the match or comes down after the match, this is a huge, like, they're suspended. This is their punishment. And the reason that means you prevent a post-match beatdown, which just makes it stops you from being like, oh, this is repetitive. Instead, you're just getting awesome matches that have story implications because Lance Archer wants to hurt Omega to help Takeshita, but they can't come down and hurt him. Like their storyline, like that's just to me, like simple things like that will keep you from burning
And
out.
the funny thing is too that they already have a match with that stipulation, and that's the Continental Classic.
Yeah.
Nobody is allowed to interfere.
Yeah.
And it would be nice. And I think, was it? I don't know if I'm getting confused with something in WWE recently, where there was a match where nobody was allowed, just a regular match where nobody was allowed to be ringside. I don't remember if it was
I think that was Judgment Day stuff.
Was that Judgment Day?
I think so.
Okay.
Probably knowing that. But like, I get you can't do that for every match because you want to have some shenanigans at the end. So what you do is you basically have, say, like tonight they could have had maybe Lance Archer or someone, not even they have to purposely hurt him. Maybe an official gets hurt in the scrum, and that leads them to say, you guys specifically are a problem. And we'll separate it out. It's just an idea. But you know who? Wait, oh no, I didn't get to Drew. I didn't get to JPJ. We got caught up in Drew. JPJ, thoughts?
On the match?
Yeah.
I loved it. It's so refreshing having Kenny back, man. It's so refreshing. It's like
so good.
My God, man. Sorely, dude, he was out for like so long. It was thank you, Big G. Judgment Day versus War Raiders was the match you were thinking about.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
But yeah, it is just so refreshing to see that guy back, and he wrestled tonight, and it was a good match, and he looks healthy. Ah, man. Like, I'm just so happy that guy's back. But that match was great. I understand why. I do think that Kenny should be heading towards a world title or wanting to save AEW sooner than later. But I'm not like super anti Callis family because, Kenny came back a few months ago for that one-off and he got beat up by the Elite, but the Elite's not there. So Kenny, ideally, in a perfect world, should have come back and been pissed at the Elite because they kicked him out. They wrote him off and beat the crap out of him. Jack Perry's been talking trash for months about him, but none of them are there. So he comes back and it's like, well, what are you going to do with him? So you don't put him towards the world title. The people that were last seen taking him out aren't here. All right, well, we got this. Let's go with this. There's a big history
also
there.
Hurt him.
Yeah, and the Callis family did hurt him. And obviously, you're never going to, that story of him versus Callis is like, that's always going to be there. Like, that's going to be something they go back to time and time and time and time again over the years because it's an easy story to tell with their history.
Right.
So
I didn't like it at first that Kenny came back and just presented the Continental title to Okada, and that was it. And there was no like physicality or anything because, hey, if we're playing it in kayfabe, Kenny already had the diverticulitis, but it was the beatdown of the Elite in kayfabe that truly put him on the shelf. That's the story that they were telling. But when he came back and he said that promo of like, I'm not here, like talking about like real life, like I almost died. I could have been dead if I didn't go to the hospital when I went there. And that experience was so eye-opening and revelational that I was like, you know what? I'm not here for revenge. What happened in the past happened in the past. I'm looking forward now.
I'm too petty for that. I'm too petty of a human being for that. You always no. You don't just let that slide.
He's a better man than we are.
Yeah, I guess so. You just don't let something like that slide.
And I actually like now that they will eventually go back to it. It's never going to be, oh, he's never going to do that again. He's never going to address the elite or anything. But I do like now that with that promo, it really did wrap that whole story up for me. So I was like, okay, I get it now. He went through this thing. While the elite aren't there for him to go after if he wanted to, it still, I think, put a really good, cherry on top there. And kind of it's wrapping it up without wrapping it up.
Fair.
Because they can go to it if they want to, and they also just could never.
Yeah. What are you gonna say, Ryan?
I mean, that's wrestling. That's the beauty of wrestling.
Yeah.
Sometimes where you're just like one line can just, and they did it. They
Yeah.
did the one line that could write this whole thing off. But I think we need to move on to someone who we all are big fans of, and that's this new version of Ricochet. He walks out and gets booed mercilessly. I will say the crowd was fairly good tonight. Smaller venue, cool venue though.
Cool looking venue. Yeah, very cool.
So awesome.
Yeah,
I think there's something to be said. Since they can't get the arenas right now, they're not filling them out. These venues are going to offer a lot of cool camera shots that they can do.
Yeah.
It's actually the shame. That's the downside of arenas, is that like they all kind of look the same.
Yeah, for the most part.
No one, you don't get these cool like music venue looks. So he gets booed. And then he puts a picture of himself stabbing Swerve. And then Swerve's music hits, and Nana comes out and nails him with a chair in the back because he's looking towards the tunnel, because good wrestlers, they know never to look behind them, always look forward.
Yeah.
So he's looking for the Swerve to come out. Nana comes in, hits him with a chair, and instantly goes into the dance.
Oh, yeah, hilarious.
And then Swerve comes out stalking him like a serial killer in a movie. It was beautiful, and chases him literally out of the building. There's a couple things here. Ricochet is nailing this heel, and the type of heel they made him was perfect. He's like a nerd almost. Like he's like a geeky, nerdy heel. Like he just wants to be cool, and he's not.
But he has like that. But he almost like last week when he or a couple weeks ago when he attacked Swerve, last week or whenever it was, just psychopath.
Yeah,
it's American Psycho-ish. It's
a nice mix. What was that, Drew?
Like the video game playing nerdy version of American Psycho.
Yeah, well, that's just it. He desperately wants to be cool, which is ironic because in real life, I'm pretty sure that man's just cool walking down the street.
Yeah.
But he desperately wants to be cool, but he's a nerd, but he's also a psychopath. And it's an amazing character. And the whole outfit, like now he's in suits, like because that's what the Hurt Syndicate was doing. But he's got those glasses on, and he doesn't actually need them, which just makes it better.
Mm-hmm.
But then to play it up with Swerve, I mean, Nana was perfect. I love Nana. But the stalking, like the slow walk after him, he doesn't really rush until he runs out the door.
Yeah.
It's such a good, like, that is Swerve. Swerve is also a psychopath.
And I was literally just going to say, what makes that work is we know how insane Swerve can be.
Yeah.
Because he went into Hangman's house and did the thing over the crib. We saw him go to the depths in those matches with Hangman. So we know that the segment with Nick Wayne in the garage when they did that, and he had him a bloodied mess, that was serial killer shit. So when you see him stalking, even though he's good guy Swerve and everybody likes him now, when you see him in that angle, you're like, oh, yeah, we remember that Swerve. Like, he'll kill this guy. He will kill this man.
Well, the beauty is they never had Swerve apologize for what he did.
Yeah.
Like, if Swerve had come out and been like, that was a different me, I'm sorry, which they knew you need to do that with some heels. Like I just said earlier, you need to do that with the Bucks because there's certain things that he heals. But I love that Swerve's like, no, I will do what it takes to win, even though you like me, because that makes this moment work. Because you're thinking in your head, if he gets his hands on him, what is he gonna do to him? Is he gonna light him on fire? Like, And meanwhile, Drew's sitting on his couch going, "Not Ricochet. Anybody but Ricochet."
I know.
Don't do that.
My
I only
man.
say that because you commented
Love
on him earlier, so I knew he was your man.
Yeah, I am. See, I've seen I've seen a few of the famous matches to pre WWE NXT Ricochet, but really the main time that I have watched Ricochet wrestle has been when he's been over in the North, like here in AEW, right? So this is the first time that I've ever seen him as a heel,
Yeah, me too.
ever. You know,
So I was familiar with his NXT stuff, but
Yeah.
that wasn't really like it was good. I can't say it wasn't.
Yeah,
He was very good. But it was such a different type of.
he was just like he was always
He
a
had
baby
a.
over there. He was at
Wait,
least
didn't
cool
he have a
in
short-
NXT.
He didn't have a short heel run. No, you're right. Why am I thinking he did?
No,
Did he try a heel run at some point in WWE?
I thought he tried one, but
I
they
thought it was
canceled it
NXT,
like
but you're
2
right, I'm
weeks
wrong.
into it because it just. But
I'm wrong. You're
but
right.
I don't think so. I think he was
Yeah.
a babyface the whole. Obviously, he was
I'm conf-
horrendously
He
misused on the
started
main roster.
for like
but,
I
you
want
know.
to say a month. I think it was like a month. He started like wrestling in black pants.
Okay,
And I
'cause
think
I
that
felt
there's-
like they might have tried it for very quickly, and they were like, "This ain't working. You're just going back to the Ricochet we've always had you be."
Yeah, 'cause
like
I'm only
immediately.
because
You know?
I'm only familiar with his NXT stuff onward. Like I don't have any.
Yeah,
Like I know he did Lucha Underground. I know I had none of that.
and I think he was a
know-
heel. I think his character was a heel at times, Prince Puma
Yeah, but like
in
I
Lucha
so I don't.
Underground. But that's and in Japan, Super Junior. Like I'm assuming he was a heel at some point pre where
Yeah,
I've
oh, yeah.
mainly
But
watched
I don't
him,
think he was
you know?
this type of heel though.
No, but it was so refreshing even when they were teasing the heel turn because I was like, I feel like he needs this. He needs a little refresh because we've always seen him as this guy that we're seeing him now as, and he flipped the switch. Like I was not expecting that sequence where he that changed my whole opinion of. I thought he was going to be the cocky,
Yep.
heel, and which he's going to be a little bit,
Well,
but
he
that
wants
was
to be
nuts.
that, and he's not like. It's actually so well played by him that you get the feeling like he desperately wants to be the cocky, like cool heel, and he can't be it. And it's just like so well done on his part because if you think about it, that's what Swerve was. Swerve was
Yeah.
the cocky
yeah.
cool heel.
Yeah.
I wanted Ricochet and the Hurt Syndicate very badly, and I'm so happy it didn't happen
Mhm.
because what they've done with it is so much better than I could have imagined.
Yeah.
Drew, do you like this Ricochet?
I like any Ricochet, but
That's-
this Ricochet especially is very intriguing to me because, like you guys have been saying, I've never seen him as this before, so it does give this freshness to him now in a role. And look, I may be biased, but I was not one of the ones on the Ricochet is a bad talker train when he was a babyface. I enjoyed his. He sounds a little, unpolished, we'll say, on the mic. But I didn't think it was a bad unpolished. I was like, okay, he's talking like Trevor, his like shoot name guy. He's pretty much like
Yeah, it just
You
sounds
know,
like a
in
regular guy.
AEW
He just sounds like a regular guy.
I think he was better in
WWE.
AEW talking as a face than he was in
100%.
WWE, and I think that
100%.
has to do with script reading. I think he's because he's a little more like you guys were saying, natural and regular. I think he's better when he's allowed to put a lot of his words into it. I think he struggled at like reciting line for line a promo, which
Yeah.
I don't know how any of them pull that off well. That has to be like.
Well, I don't think they have to really do that much anymore.
No,
which is
thank
nice.
God.
But yeah,
it's been refreshing.
I can't imagine that had to be easy memorizing. Like, give me the bullet points and let me do my thing,
And then
You
knowing
can't screw it
that
up.
if you didn't hit a certain thing, the old man was gonna fucking ream you.
Well,
Yeah.
The TV shows are famous for their bloopers. Why? Because actors screw up their lines constantly,
Exactly.
and you're expecting these guys to go out there and nail it.
And they've been
perfectly in front of a
studying
live
those
crowd.
lines for months and months and months. They didn't get it an hour before the show.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Or sometimes
Uh,
during the show.
Oh, during
Well,
the show. Oh, by the way,
Hey,
go
why
say
do you-
this in 5 minutes.
Why do you think Saturday Night Live has cue cards?
Yeah,
Like,
exactly.
it's impossible. But yeah, I'm very excited for this feud. There's not much more to that segment. Then we get a day in the life of CEO package from Mercedes Moné, which not a lot to it. I just thought it was good. Like, it was kind of a fun thing.
Actually, I do want to mention something. They should have been doing this from the start.
Okay.
This was I actually when this was done, I was like, as much as I'm always invested in her, and then I'm enjoying what she's doing right now. As soon as she got more than one belt, this is the exact type of stuff that they should have been doing with her. Like, this was perfect. And then she was even, she was on I don't remember whose talk show, Sherry, I think it was.
Yeah,
Shepherd's
yes,
talk
I
show.
don't know who it was, but I saw it. Yeah.
With all of those titles, and even the host of the show is like holding a title, like that's the type of stuff that you want. But this like ground and pound, rougher style to that video package of her in the ring and wrestling with the trainees and whomever, the lavish lifestyle. Like, this is the Mercedes Moné I want to see all the time. Not the one in the building every week going, say hello to your CEO, like some WWE written out script.
In fairness, I think they do that on purpose because she's a heel and they know that drives people in AEW nuts.
Yeah, I think there's a
That
little
like
to that.
she's recited. But I agree with you.
Right.
I do agree with you that this was
Very good.
was refreshing in like how it presented her.
Mhm.
But it's another thing where you again mix it up. She doesn't have to be on mic every week to be on the show.
Right.
Yeah, I agree.
So we move into the Hurt Syndicate featuring all three members of Bobby Lashley, MVP, and Shelton Benjamin versus Mark Briscoe and Private Party in a trios match. It was, to me, I always say like trios matches, I love them, but like they are kind of a clusterfuck for like they're just all over the place, especially when you have like Mark Briscoe involved. I mean, he's just doing whatever he does. There was, I'm not, anyone who watches knows I'm not good at calling out moments. I don't remember much. Like I have goldfish brain in terms of moves in a match, but I can remember the story. And the story of this match was that you knew Private Party was going to lose from the beginning. Like they never seemed to have, there were moments of control, but it always felt like this was Hurt Syndicate's match. Like there were that, and that was, I think, an intentional story that this was their, like, at least as a trio, this group can't hang with him. Now, I'm okay that Private Party takes a loss because it is a trios thing versus a tag and Private Party. And it's Mark Briscoe. It's not like a guy they've been like, Hurt Syndicate is Hurt Syndicate.
Yeah.
Who've been together for years. Private Party, Mark Briscoe just came together last week. So I'm okay with them saying like, you could take this loss, though I would have had Mark Briscoe take the pin personally, but I'm okay saying the team that I'm actually a big proponent in general, the team that's been established, always beating the thrown together team. It's how I feel like it should work because it makes tag teams matter more. Again, I don't call out many moments, but there is something I'm going to call out. There was a time in the match where I don't remember which member of Private Party had like gone for a pin and didn't get it. And their cameras focused on him in the ring. And in the background, you see Bobby Lashley pick Mark Briscoe up for the beginning of a suplex. Now they eventually flip over and actually catch it, but it made me think like they need to do more of that. Like have a spot happen in the background just as like a cool, like holy crap. Because it was kind of like, did I just see what I thought I saw? Like it was like a fun moment in the match. I'm going to start with, who did I start with last time? I don't remember who I started. I think I'll start with J to the P to the J.
Yes.
Did this hurt you?
No, I love the Hurt Syndicate, man. They're probably my favorite thing going. In AEW, I'm all in on them. I thought this match was fine. I love Mark Briscoe as well. I will always love Mark Briscoe.
I want him. I want ROH to get TV and him to be champion. ROH.
I love that guy. I don't know how you cannot watch that guy and just have a smile on your face. Like honestly, like that. I smile every time he does anything. Like he just makes me happy to watch. But yeah, I mean, I went into this. I knew Hurt Syndicate was going to win. It was good to see MVP wrestle. That was cool.
Yeah.
I like how they like talked up his debut a lot over the last couple of weeks too. Oh, first time he's wrestling in 2.5 years. The online stuff that they did this like leading up to this
Oh, that
over
was
the
excellent.
awesome. I think MVP. I thought when they were doing this on the other side, I thought they were great, and MVP was cutting killer promos. He's a different level right now. I think he's better than ever at this with them right now. I thought again the match was good, like the match was fine, but it was a result I knew was going to happen. But the Hurt. I think Fernando in the chat might be right. I think the Hurt poor Private Party, but I think their days are numbered, man. I think their days are
the Hurt
numbered.
Syndicate winning those belts.
I'm okay with that. I'm okay with not wanting it. Like I would rather again, he just got there. I don't really view him as Mr. AEW, but like Bobby Lashley versus Jon Moxley intrigues me.
Yeah, I just feel like I want Private Party as my champs. I want them to have better defenses, meaning actually have defenses, and I want them as my champs a little bit longer. I think they're a lot of fun.
I agree.
Drew, do you agree with Joe? Or are you gonna tell us how bad this was?
I'm never gonna live this down now.
No, that's fun now.
Well, I picked up what you were putting down when you asked JPJ, did it hurt you? I'm going to say it did hurt me because they hurt people.
They hurt people.
Exactly.
See? We're on the same wavelength here.
Well, we are.
I love this team so much, and this was a genuine highlight of WWE during the pandemic.
Mm-hmm.
And
Oh, yeah.
I cannot believe that they did them as dirty as they did. It was just so terrible to me. So to see them together now again, and of course without Cedric this time, I'm just fine now with it just being the three of them, because every
Mhm.
once in a while MVP can just be the third guy and get in a match if he needs to and wrestle his ass off. And I don't know how old he is, but like to be doing it at such a great level,
Mhm.
when he's at the tail end of his career, is exactly what you want in a wrestler. It's just like this was really, really fun to see. I don't know if I even saw him wrestle that 2.5. I don't know where the 2.5 years ago, where he was wrestling 2.5 years
WWE.
ago. Was it WWE?
Yeah, he wrestled in WWE a few
Yeah.
times, handful of times.
I didn't remember when it was that he
Yeah.
wrestled.
Yeah.
But it just felt like I hadn't seen him forever, and it was cool. And that makes me go, when they pick up this thing again with Swerve, Prince Nana, and MVP, they should be involved in a match together. It doesn't have to be a singles match, but
Yeah.
to do a trio like this and have the Hurt Syndicate versus, maybe they bring AR Fox back or something. It would be nice to see him again regularly.
Mhm.
But yeah, just have like a trio and have MVP and Prince Nana in the ring together. So yeah, I was all on board with this. Again, like you guys said, it was obvious what the finish was here.
Yeah.
And I do get concerned for Private Party because, like I talked about earlier, they put the titles on them and then they were nowhere to be seen. And then you've got a hot team like Hurt Syndicate, who already have kind of called their shot for the title. And I see Private Party every week come out to crickets.
Yeah. I don't see a way that you have the Hurt Syndicate, Bobby Lashley in particular, call the shot for the tag titles and they lose the shot.
No, if Bobby Lashley calls it, it's over.
But
well, Drew kind of just said it. They're coming out to crickets. Well, why are they coming out to crickets? They were so hot when they won. People were so on board with it, and they did nothing.
Exactly.
And it's just that's the problem. Like they should be having They could have given them an Orange Cassidy style tag team run where, like, yeah, they're going to lose in a few months to I mean, Orange Cassidy's went a while, but they could have shortened it. Yeah, they're going to lose in a few months to Hurt Syndicate, but they have 10 defenses on their belt. They've been wrestling every week, defending that against every tag team that, excluding the big names, every tag team that they could come across. It would really have solidified them as champs. Right now, it's they're nothings. And I also would say hi, Jesse Ozog in the chat. Kate's not here, so I'm allowed to acknowledge you as a person. But I'm with both you guys. Like, this is why I kind of wish the Hurt Syndicate had like a couple more members who could be a tag team. I know
I have an idea. How about Leo Rush and Action Andretti?
Well, that's being thrown out there. There was in ROH. There's Lee J, which is Lee Johnson, EJ, and Duca. They were floated. They were rumored for a while, and those are some. I mean, they're talented, and EJ's a big man.
Yeah.
Because you could have them be the ones challenging Private Party for the title on behalf of the Hurt Syndicate and lose. And then you get Bobby Lashley and Shelton. If they want to win them, they can always win them. But if not, they're kind of like, but I guess maybe this is the story they want to tell with Bobby and Shelton. I don't know. I can't complain because I'm never going to be upset that that the Hurt Syndicate's on my TV.
Of course.
Now we move on to what I think was Drew's favorite segment of the night, which was the Jeff Jarrett MJF promos.
Well, here's the funny thing. You're actually going to be surprised at what I have to say about this.
I'm going to say half of this I really enjoyed.
I like the second half a lot more than the first half.
I liked I liked a little bit, some of it. Yeah. So I'm going to flip this. I liked the second half of MJF better than I liked his first half. I liked the first half of Jeff Jarrett better than I liked his second half. Yeah. Like, they kind of flip-flopped because I thought Jeff Jarrett started well, and then he kind of started going to Max's level of insults. I'm like, that just doesn't feel right for this. And then when Max kind of gave up his insults and started talking actually about why he wants to win the belt and what he like, I'm like, all right, this is where I have heat. All to say that this could have been like a 5-minute segment max, probably less. Yeah.
I like the pairing. I'm good with this. I feel like I like the pairing. I liked what they did last week. And like you said, I liked some of this, but a lot of it, I was just like, I feel like, I expect it from Max. So it's not like I was shocked at the stuff that Max was saying, because Max is always that way. That's always been who he is. But still, like, it's just, at some point, like, is it always going to, like, the shaming and just kind of some of the things, like, you want to take a dig at his wife because you're a sleazeball. Like, but it's
Karen
just
Jarrett has been around wrestling. She's in
Yes.
She's in part of the company. And I hate to say it, her story, her past is in wrestling lore at this point. It's not like, I don't love it, but I get it. The shots against MJF's former whatever, I don't know. It has to be former, because they're not, I doubt they're going against Alicia Tout. So I'm going against, I guess it's his former fiance. Unnecessary, uncalled for. Like, it didn't make me like Jeff Jarrett in that moment. I wasn't like, oh, you got him. It's like that just, no, you're supposed to be above this. You're the good guy. And this is a very, very stereotypical, at least supposed to be, good guy versus bad guy feud. Jeff Jarrett is the retiring veteran just trying to go out on his last run. He's given his love to the industry. He's given his life to the industry. And this is MJF, the punk who just can't let anyone have anything good. It's supposed to, and so to bring Jeff to that level annoyed me a little bit. But, Drew hates women, so he probably was all for this.
Listen, just because I'm gay doesn't mean that I hate women. My God.
I just wanted to catch you off guard. I knew I'd get a reaction.
Wait a minute.
So here's why I actually didn't hate this as much. Now, could I have gone without the slut shaming? Yes, absolutely. However, I didn't see it, and segments like these are always going to be hit or miss. And it's going to depend on, the perception and people, viewing it the way that they're viewing it. That's why wrestling is subjective entertainment because people like what they like and don't like what they don't like, and it's all good. And it'd be nice if there were more people that thought that way. Um, I didn't see Jeff going after MJF in that second half as him doing it. I didn't see him doing it in a way that was in the similar way that MJF would do it. I saw it as Jeff saying, well, because what in the promo, he says, I've already said and done what you've said better than you.
Yeah.
Which I
That
thought
was when
one of
Jarrett
the
was
best
good.
lines of the night.
Yeah, that was when Jarrett, I think, was good in the promo. It's when the other stuff, I thought it was like, all right, yeah, that didn't need to. I understand why it was in there, but it didn't need to be.
It's not that he was doing it on the level of MJF and how MJF would do it.
Yeah.
It was that he was doing it because he knew it would get under MJF's skin.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which, when MJF does it, it's that theatrical sense of like, oh, I'm just going to take the lowest of the low type of a dig. He just recently did it with Britt Baker to Adam Cole and Hammerstein. And it's like everyone's always just doing that baseline dig. Oh, your relationship didn't last, But what I liked about the Jeff Jarrett part of this was that it was Jeff Jarrett going to that level. I mean, because he was going to that level not in an angry way, not in a, oh, I'm just trying to one up you type of a way, like so many other promos with MJF are. He was literally laughing in his face.
Yeah.
He's just like, oh yeah, you're talking about Karen and I tasted Kurt Angle's balls. Haha.
Yeah.
Your mother was a call, and listen,
Yeah.
the call girl comment. I'm not a fan of that, obviously, but no one's ever really like gone after MJF in that way before. So no one's ever mentioned his parents. His sleaze of a dad, the call girl mother. Again, I don't like that phrase, but it was just like an extra little dig that is unusual on the opposite side of an MJF promo.
Yeah, Jarrett gave him a taste of his own medicine. And I feel like, MJF, the other people, they usually take the high road. But like Jarrett was like, all right, kid, like you want to take it there? Like, I'm going to throw some back at you. I'm going to give you a taste of your own medicine, see how you like it. And MJF reacted accordingly. He acted like a little brat.
Right.
He acted like a little brat.
That's why I didn't hate it as much as probably a lot of people do. Because I was like, okay, well, this is Jeff really peeling that layer and getting in there in a way that not a lot of people in MJF promos really have done before.
Yeah, I mean, I get what you're saying. I just felt like the story they're telling, it didn't feel right. And I know a lot of like, I guess to me it's tough when you're trying to have someone be your babyface and it instantly annoys half of your fan base. Like,
yeah,
you probably didn't make the like this. I get it. I think there's other things you can insult MJF for that are pretty low hanging that would, be just as useful.
But see, the thing though, Ryan, is that everyone has done that already. Punk did it. Adam Cole did it. Bryan Danielson kind of did it in a sense, not to that level, but everyone really has always said the same. Here got another cat. Everyone has really said the same things about him. You can't keep a relationship. Everyone hates him. It's like, how many times can you just repeat the same thing over and over again?
No, I
To
don't, I don't
where,
disagree with that, but it's just I don't know. It just
but I totally understand people not
yeah,
liking it.
no, I get where you're coming from too. Like wrestling's weird like that though, where like because so many people put like their real life and personas into it, stuff like this gets a lot harder to take because people take it a lot more like a lot less like characters insulting each other and more like people insulting each other, and they just view it. But I don't think any of us are arguing that they had about 13 minutes for this, and that's too long.
It was way too long.
Yeah.
It was way too
Like,
long. Cut
this
that.
is
Cut that to 8, please.
Yeah,
You know.
and give that 8 minutes to the women's gauntlet. Like,
Yeah.
13 minutes is. It felt like as good. We're talking highlights, but there was rambling in between these
Oh, big
highlights.
time.
Like
On both ends, big time.
Yeah.
like and you had Jeff Jarrett talk. Well, I know Dustin Rhodes came up to him, but you had Jeff Jarrett talk later in the night with Dustin Rhodes walking up. Unnecessary. Like some things can be done on social.
I didn't even understand what the point of that segment was.
My thing was I was watching that segment and I was like, okay, they're clearly like Jeff Jarrett's been on our TV for a month straight now. They're clearly doing this. Like he's going to be a focal point for a while because they're doing this story. And I'm sitting there and I'm going, if anybody just turned on the channel and they saw Dustin Rhodes talking to Jeff Jarrett in a backstage segment on Dynamite, they would be like, why is this happening at all? Like, why would they care about that? Dustin Rhodes hasn't been on AEW in forever. He's the Ring of Honor Tag Team Champion. Like, I understand we all know who he is,
And
but like
champion.
Trio, whatever. Yeah. So
Both.
I don't know.
No, he's both.
Is he both? He's double champ.
I like Dustin down in ROH.
I like Dustin in general, period. Like I like him.
Yeah. But I think that's like a really good role for him because it's it's again, this is where I want ROH to be both developmental, and he's not going to get a ton of AEW time, so it still gives him a chance to wrestle. Yeah. But he's putting it in his time with people and being like, let me get you ready. People who are younger, let me help you. Yeah, develop
100%.
But again, 13 minutes is just too long.
Mm-hmm.
We come back from that. We get a package saying it's Okada versus Ishii on Saturday. I don't have a lot of comments. I mean, they're going to have a good match. Ishii just had an amazing match on New Japan, as we all saw. He's going to lose, but it'll be fun.
Mm-hmm.
We then have Christian Cage versus Hook. This was okay. Patriarchy doing a lot of interference, so Shibata runs down. And then it still looks like the Patriarchy's gonna. Patriarchy does use their numbers because they get disqualified, and that's why Hook wins. But they look like they're really gonna hurt Hook, and Taz is about to stand up, and then maybe one of the highlights of the night, Samoa Joe returns and just cleans house.
This was my highlight of the night.
Yeah, Samoa Joe's awesome. So glad he's back. He looked awesome. This was an okay match. I saw someone say online, and I kind of agree with it. Hook hasn't really changed or developed much in his in-ring style from when we first saw him. They need him to wrestle more. He needs to be wrestling like weekly if he's gonna like, and because that really does seem like the problem. He just doesn't wrestle. Like,
he doesn't. Yeah,
I don't think he's had any development at all since he appeared on this league.
Yeah. Like he's a guy to me, like
that he talks a little more.
Yeah, like he's a guy to me that when you talk about Ring of Honor and getting a plan for Ring of Honor, put him in Ring of Honor. Put him in Ring of Honor and have him wrestle every week in Ring of Honor. Have him learn from the veterans on a Ring of Honor only roster because he needs time. He's definitely charismatic. He's got the look. The crowd's behind him. He's got the lineage with his dad that gets him over more.
I'm as much of a hooker as anybody.
There you go. He is people like him. I think people want to like him, but in the ring, it really has been the same stuff since day one. It's been the same stuff since day one.
He's gotta,
and you got to elevate.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But then also a big problem with him has been who he's paired with, and it got better with Joe, for sure. But being involved with Christian Cage, being involved with Chris Jericho, being involved with these, as much as I like the Danhausen thing when that was a thing, Hookhausen I think they were called.
Hookhausen. Yeah.
It's just
But
like
that was long enough ago that was probably okay. They've done nothing since then, and like Christian
Yeah.
Cage can wrestle, so he could still. The problem is
Christian was great in this match.
Why hasn't he wrestled Nick Wayne? Why hasn't really wrestled? I don't know if I forget if they had a match or not, but had a long match. Why hasn't he wrestled Kip Sabian?
They did.
I think they did, but I don't think it was very long.
Like 2 months ago.
No, it wasn't. It was. Yeah, they did, but it wasn't anything.
Have a real match with Nick Wayne. Have a real match with Kip Sabian.
Yeah.
When he gets in these feuds, give him real length matches, not short hook squashes. Give him 8 to 10 minute matches against, at least to start, against some of these better wrestlers, but against these wrestlers, and let them. That's how he could bring up his whatever, while being still stuck in the storylines that maybe no one likes.
Yeah.
Would
any of you two or either of you two be upset if Samoa Joe and Hook became a tag team for a legit tag team in the tag division for a little bit?
Oh, not at all. I'd be very.
I think that'd be the way. Yeah, I think they should. That's what they should do.
But that's kind of what they were doing before Joe left, right?
Well, they were teaming, but Joe was more of his protector. It felt like than an actual part. But I think, and when you think about development, Hook, there's not a lot of guys in that company that Hook's going to learn more from than Samoa friggin' Joe.
Yeah.
That guy's been everywhere. He's been successful everywhere. Like you just said, Drew, they wrestle a very similar style, suplex, submission-based type style. That is a guy you want to be around to learn and get better and learn the psychology. And Shibata's part of it, true. They have the triple, really, with Shibata. Those two guys surrounding Hook, who are you going to learn? That's a good shout-out in the chat with Shibata. Can you pick two better guys in the company for Hook to be hopefully around a lot and absorbing and seeing, even if it's not through conversation, but having matches with and just watching and seeing the little things they do and being like, oh, okay, hopefully learning and that's.
Oh, I agree. But he has to wrestle. At the end of the day,
yes, I agree.
If you're teaming him with Smojo, if you're teaming him with Shibata, if you're doing either tag or trios or whatever, he has to wrestle with them regularly. He has to be in the ring. And they're saying, okay, it was Nick Wayne versus Hook at Rampage at Hammerstein. But if I recall, I don't think it was a long match because Hook only really has squash matches until he has a real match, till he has his big match. And it's he's got to be putting in, a lot of time,
Oh yeah.
And he's just it's the one thing I like him, but it's killing me how little progress I've seen in the ring. Elsewhere but on the flip side, we got Samoa Joe back.
Incredible.
Yeah. My issue with Hook is that while he is very charismatic, and I do like him as the current character that he is, but it's not presented in a way that works in a long match like this.
Yeah, that's fair.
I get what you're saying. Yeah,
he's when you're presented as a squash wrestler for primarily most of your wrestling career, as just
that's the problem with how they presented him. He should be. They need to have a long time ago taken him from that.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Agreed.
But, and that's the problem. They didn't. That it's actually the problem they run. Not just again. I'm not.
God,
it's a wrestling problem.
Jesus Christ. You brought me so down tonight, both of you. I came in here.
It's true.
Flying high. I was like,
At
let's
least you're
go. I'm ready. And
blaming-
it's just
blaming,
negative
I get it.
Nancy's.
I'm not usually
Negative
negative, and I actually really
Nancy's.
liked this. Like, I was pumped when Joe came back. Like
Yeah.
when you hear that music, you're like, oh, it's because now I think about whether he's with Hook or he's doing his own thing. There is just imagine a Joe Moxley stare down.
He's another guy that I would very much like. I mean, again, yeah.
Like
He would be on the short list.
You think like Joe may not be the AEW guy from day one, but like just the Death Riders are all about violence, and they're going to stare down Samoa Joe. Like
you don't want to mess with Samoa Joe. So you just don't. I don't care.
Whatever you do, I can do way better. Like it's, but we'll see. So we're going to move on to our women's casino gauntlet match. Now I'm going to go through the list, but I will say I'm going to get my negative out of the way on this, which is it was too short. I wish they had longer. But the match itself was good. So I got my negative out of the way.
Yeah, very fun.
You had Mariah May was on commentary and she was hilarious. You had Statlander and Hayter started out, followed by Megan Bain making her AEW re-debut, I guess you'd call it, because she'd been back, especially on Dark Days. I remember watching when my baby Dark was on TV. I remember watching her regularly, and she was good then, and she's only gotten much better. My funniest thing was I'm pretty sure I heard this. Someone could tell me if I'm wrong. I think I heard Mariah May say, "What does she eat? Babies for breakfast?"
Did she say that?
I think she did.
I'd have to go back and listen to it.
Yeah,
I am fairly certain she said something like, because like Megan Bain was just dominating it.
Oh my god, yeah, they made her look real good.
Oh yeah,
they made her look real good.
Surprise,
and she looked like coming out in the full garb, like she looked.
Yep.
Amazing.
When LT said, I'm being told by chat, she did say that. Yep.
All right,
she I was like, oh my god. Then you had Julia Hart come out, perfect. She looked good for most of this. Willow Nightingale had a huge outing. She had a couple moments where you're just like, what the hell? There's a quick clip of her going around where she runs off the apron and like body slams Bane, and she rolls into like a pose. It's one of the funniest things I've ever seen. So she had a great night, followed by the rookie Tony Storm.
Yep.
Yeah, look, Ophelia just said, look at her. What does she eat for breakfast? Babies? Like, it was perfect. And then Harley Cameron comes out 7th, and Harley, of course, gets her reaction because Harley Cameron's amazing. So I'll pick out a couple highlights for myself and let you guys have yours. Oh, Tony Storm wins by pinfall inside Cradle. I think we all saw that come in. I do have thoughts on this, and I disagree with some people online, so I'll get to that in a second. But my highlights are that Willow moment. I think Willow had a shining star. I think Statlander looked good, but Statlander was the minute Bane walked out, it was Statlander versus Bane. Like that was
oh my god.
And people either want them as a tag team or they want them as opponents. Like this is like, and they both good. Delivered.
Oh yeah.
Julia Hart did get to spray her mist in Harley Cameron's face, which
she didn't deserve that.
No, poor Harley. I'm praying. Obviously, I don't think we're going to get actual like dark Harley Cameron.
I would love it.
Oh my god.
I would love it.
I want to. No. Hear me out. I don't think we're going to get it in like the way Julia Hart did it. I want a Harley Cameron version of it.
Yeah. I want her to be singing. I want her to be singing a song, and all of a sudden she goes dark, and it's like a different.
Yeah. Or thing. Like she thinks she's dark, but she's just wearing goth stuff.
She's and she will knock it out of the park, and it will be hysterical because she is gold.
She's amazing. Her comedy
incredible at what she does.
Just has timing.
Yes.
So what I'll say my point, and then I'm going to toss it to both you guys because again, I liked this match a lot. One thing I saw from people online was that they thought a couple of people actually friend the show, and I won't say anything. A couple of people are like, this is too soon for Tony Storm. You could have stretched this out. You could have let her character develop. I don't think there's a lot of legs to this version of Tony Storm. This is a very short run.
Yeah. What do you need to develop about this at all? What do you need to develop? This is what?
Yeah, I don't get that.
I'm not ragging on the person that made the comment. I'm sure they're a fine individual.
I just think they like what Tony's doing. I don't even necessarily the character develop. I think
what is there to not understand about this character that you would need to drag this out longer than another month from now?
I might be misquoting, so I'm going to look it up just in case I'm misquoting.
You know, my thing is the question that I have for
Okay.
you guys is how did you feel about Mariah May being happy she won
So, well,
and
hold
like
on. Let me.
clapping? Oh, you want to
I
do
get.
something for okay? No, that's cool.
I got to correct myself. First of
Yeah,
all,
yeah.
thank you, Jay Cook. We like a good pun here. Like the name of the podcast, and we have fun.
Mhm.
They weren't mad that the character needed develop. They wanted the new direction to have time to breathe. Okay, that's a different discussion.
I
I don't
mean,
agree with it. I think
yeah,
this had a very short shelf life. I think this was very like, but
yeah.
and I'm only pointing. There was I wouldn't have pointed out if they were the only person to say this. I saw this by like 10 different people. They just happen to have the most articulate version of it, so that's why I went to it. I think this has a very, very short this has a short shelf life. You have to use it. Otherwise, people are gonna be like, we're done with it. We're past it.
Yeah.
So there's a moment, and I think the camera made a mistake, which has happened in AEW from time to time. So she's clapping, Mariah May's clapping and smiling, and she does a look over. And I think she's just about to look pissed, and the camera cuts away. And I think we were supposed to see a mood change of her where she's not actually happy that this happened.
Mm.
But I don't think or because I think she's trying to put on a happy face, thinking like, I can't act like this upsets me because if it does, that's like, then who am I? Like, I can never, like, her whole thing is that she can't ever act like she's less than other women.
Yeah, maybe.
Now, I had to kind of like speed through this a little bit, so I didn't really like pay attention. When I saw the Tony Storm win, I kind of like fast forwarded a little bit because I was watching late. I got home late from work. Um, did she like acknowledge at all Tony Storm's character change?
No, she just called her a rookie. Like she was like,
Well,
oh,
she said,
like she was playing alone.
So she said, I've met timeless Tony Storm. I've never met rookie Tony Storm.
Yes.
And then that's when Shivani's like, they're the same person, which some people were mad he did it.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, I kind of get why he said it, because it's kind of like, otherwise he looks like an idiot to be like, they're different.
Yeah,
people.
like you have to assume that we're all in on the joke, right? So like there's got to be some people that have that reaction. And she also mentioned that timeless Tony Storm was dead. She said she was dead at the table. That was another thing she said. Yeah, she left her for dead at Wembley. That's what she said. She said she left her dead at Wembley. Yeah. So that she referenced timeless Tony Storm, but then this Tony Storm, she was playing along that it's a different person. Like she was playing
I think
along
that's
with
on
that.
purpose.
Of course. Yeah.
So they're gonna have at some point before Grand Slam, or I would doubt that it's going to be at Grand Slam. I think that this will be revealed. As everybody pretty much already knows, this will be revealed as a ruse, and this is just timeless Tony Storm playing the role of a lifetime. And probably at Grand Slam we will get the return of timeless Tony Storm. So they're doing it this way, just like what Mariah May. So now, what I would actually like to see now, for the rest of the time until Grand Slam, I would like to see the roles reverse, and now Mariah May is playing timeless Tony Storm when the goody two shoes Mariah May went up to Tony Storm and was like befriending her and everything. I think now this newer iteration of Tony Storm, the rookie Tony Storm, should go up to Mariah May in the same fashion that Mariah May went up to her, and play off of what they were doing on commentary there. It was just like, oh, hey, it's so great to be wrestling you. And have you watched? Here's a line that she should say, because this is a good callback to that beginning time with Mariah May. Have you watched my matches? Remember that? Remember when Mariah May was going up to her and was like, did you watch my matches? Did you watch my matches? So, like, if they do it that way, that would be just the icing on the cake of the story. And just have Tony play Mariah May's character the way that she did it up until maybe the Dynamite before Grand Slam, and then here comes the shoe, and it's a repeat of when Mariah May turns on her, and then timeless Tony Storm makes her grand return at Grand Slam.
It's possible. I don't mind it. I think they have a month right now. I think it's gonna be good. I feel like this story has still I trust the people that are in charge of this story. So I think we're in for a month of fun. I thought the gauntlet match, it should have been longer, but I thought the gauntlet match in general was a blast. I thought it was a blast.
I like Ophelia's thing. She gets hit in the head and then
Yeah.
Yeah. But I want a gong, I want a gong or bong sound like.
But the thing though, so I had said with JPJ, it's got to be it's only one of two things. It's either she has amnesia, or she's faking it this whole time, and she's really timeless Tony Storm playing rookie Tony Storm to get to Mariah May this way. I would much rather it now be just her playing a role, because I think it gets a little funky when you play like an amnesia thing. It's a little funky to me. I wouldn't really be as into it. I think that her just getting knocked on the head now before Grand Slam just makes her all of a sudden wake up and be like, oh my God, I'm timeless Tony Storm again. I remember everything. You could do that, but I feel like having it be more of this grand master plan to fool everybody, in particular Mariah May, so that this way she could get this title defense. I just feel like it makes. I feel like it would be better than her just having amnesia and getting knocked on the head and remembering the last 6 months.
Probably quality wise, but it's much funnier if she gets hit on the head. You hear a big bonk, and she's like, "Oh, I'm timeless Tony Storm." That's just. I have sensibilities, and
the bonk would change my opinion completely.
You need to hear it. It needs to be an audible bonk,
like a Three Stooges level.
Yes,
bonk,
literally taken from Three Stooges.
Yeah, you need the Three Stooges sound effect, or whatever. Yeah, exactly.
This and all that stuff.
Yeah.
Do people still watch the Three Stooges? Do young people know who the Three Stooges?
No, young
they
people
should.
Probably don't.
If they don't, they should.
Do they still do Three Stooges marathons on New Year's Eve on certain channels?
Oh, not on New Year's, but certain channels have them on still.
Okay.
I know my dad still watches them.
Oh, the best. Anyway,
I know he got he got his grandchildren, so my nephews to watch them. So
yeah, well, they should. Kids should watch it. It's hilarious.
It's
hilarious banter. Anyway,
BG knows AMC. So yeah.
Okay. Anyway.
So yeah. So we already talked about the main event. So that is our show. As negative as something, Drew just brought us all down. I don't know how he did it.
It's unbelievable.
It's a gravity.
I very rarely am part of a show where I'm the most positive one.
Very rarely part of a show where I am not the most positive one. So I don't know what
rarely
happened.
am I the shining shimmer of light.
Did I break the Mark Order podcast? I'm really sorry.
Because I'm going to tell you what happened tonight, and I know, Kylie, we're actually wrapping up. We just talked about the women's casino. We're very happy.
Kylie, hold your horse. I hope you're sitting down. But Drew and Ryan hated it.
I didn't hate it at all.
So I want to be
because that would shock people if I said I hate it. I mean, Christ, my fun scale literally starts at fun.
Yeah.
I don't have a. I think we got caught on discussing bigger issues beyond the show. And obviously I have my bigger concerns. If we're going segment by segment on the show, I enjoyed pretty much everything. The Jarrett segment went too long, and it had parts of it I didn't like, but I didn't hate it at parts. The rest of it I thoroughly enjoyed. Every match was awesome.
Yeah.
Even the Hug match, which was my favorite, ended with Samoa Joe showing up. So I'm like, let's go.
Mm-hmm. To me, I felt like last week's and this week's episodes were back-to-back too solid to good episodes of Dynamite, and that's all I asked for. I just and again, I just feel like the last 2 weeks have been pretty good. there are issues that we talked about at length, but I think all in all, like tonight was a very enjoyable show. It wasn't perfect, but it was a good show. So
Yeah, and
I
I agree too. As
hope
much
it
as I've been
continues.
negative
Yeah.
about the night, like I said, I felt like this show was a really good show.
Yeah.
It felt like I wouldn't say an improvement, but just like if the segments I think were paced better. The Monet video package was phenomenal. I really loved that a lot. You know, I liked the Casino Gauntlet match. I like the opener. I like the closure. It was a solid show. It really
Yeah.
was. But like you said, Ryan, sometimes you get kind of caught up on the bigger issues in it.
That's what kind of happened tonight. I think we could well, truthfully, part of that happens because when with Kate and Joe, when they're decided to be here, since we talk every week, we don't always get on the bigger issues because we're literally but overall, the show, I would have rated it. Hold on, I got a media asset for this. That's what they call it here now.
Wait a minute.
I would have said this was a 3 out of 4 on the fun scale. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah. Okay.
Drew, are you not familiar with the fun scale?
Drew has no idea.
I actually am familiar with the fun scale.
Okay, so it starts
I
at
just
1.
didn't know that you could do that. That's
A
cool.
healthy dose of fun. And then I go to an excitable amount of fun, which then moves to where we were tonight, a lot of fun. And then 4 out of 4, oh my God, I may have just peed a little on the fun scale. So I have.
That's my
but
favorite one.
we do have a Kate version too. It is this garbage is not for me, no fun. This is for Kate only. I don't use it.
Okay, that's fair.
And for when we have blood and guts, a bloody fun time.
Oh, love it. We love it.
I love it.
That's good stuff.
So
I think I have a picture of one of your fun scales on my phone somewhere.
Oh,
I
there.
took a screenshot of it. So it's like, oh, this is hilarious.
They asked for pictures. Joey asked for pictures. I gave him pictures, and he made it work. I can't claim that. And Kylie, I know you're saying I hate women, but that's Drew tonight. I was pro women, and Drew.
Right.
No. Again, let me tell you this. I was super excited for Samoa Joe coming back. I was and I'm not saying this just because we were talking about it, but we're talking about highlights of the night. The Omega versus Cage match was incredible.
Yep.
Yeah.
I was super excited for Samoa Joe's return. I was probably as excited when I saw Megan Bayne walk out because she's just been killing it everywhere recently. And then that match ended up being incredible. Again, the Willow moments in that match were probably my favorite. That roll when she just lands on her side people have already made it like it's an opening scene in a show. It's perfect. And our main event was good, like a great match. Powerhouse Hobbs is a main eventer.
Yep.
So Grand Slam Australia would be a television special, not a pay-per-view, finally confirmed. Okay.
Yeah.
Powerhouse Hobbs has proved tonight that he could be a main eventer. I don't know where they're going to put him in the story, but this was, like I said, if you're talking just a show, I actually really enjoyed it. We just got into the bigger issues they're running into that they need to fix so that there's no concern about where they're going, that everything's like, let's
I actually thought I was going to be more down than I was tonight based off of the last couple of days. And this show kind of turned it around for me a little bit.
Yeah, I think that's fair.
You got to see Ricochet, and he's your boy. Even though he's a nerd.
We'll see. We'll see how Collision. We'll see how Collision goes. But yeah, I thought tonight was good. So
but this was good. So when you're not sucking us down to the darkness of sadness, Drew, where can you be found?
You can find me on Twitter and Blue Sky at the Drew Nicholas, and I also collect super chats and humper chats for Fightful's AEW Collision post show every Saturday with Rick Cresta and Iridian. So come join us on Saturday nights. It's always a fun time. And with this guy, every Tuesdays and Thursdays, 10 a.m. Eastern. Tuesday, firmly WWE. Thursday, in less than 12 hours from now.
Mhm.
Firmly AEW.
Yep.
And JPJ, when you're trying to shine some light when your partner's dragging us down, where can you be found?
Yeah, you can find me at JPJ Loves Gaming on all social media platforms. I also have a Twitch and a YouTube that we stream and play some games and do videos and stuff like that. And then obviously he just said where you can find us together on Tuesdays and Thursday mornings, but I also have another little show on Thursday nights at 8 p.m. It's the flagship show over on the Love Wrestling. It's with our buddy, my best pal Pluggo, who has been on here with me before, and you, Ryan, obviously you guys have been on our show. It's called Between Two Beards. It's a very fun show. We talk about obviously wrestling, but we actually talk about really whatever the hell we want to.
I mean, we've ranked soups before.
We did. We had a soup draft before. Like, we do really whatever we're feeling. So it is a wrestling podcast, but it's a wrestling podcast that might talk about Disney movies for 40 minutes at a time, or cereal, or just nonsense. So that's who we are. But yeah, you can catch us there. Yeah, so that's where you can find me.
Guys, I hear if you guys support them enough on Between Two Beards, they're gonna shave.
No, I trimmed it a little bit.
So close.
But maybe Pluggo would agree to that. I would never.
I saw Pluggo today or yesterday reposted the picture of you guys with the former Baron Corbin. And I once again have to ask JPJ, how tall are you?
Not tall.
Apparently.
Yeah, not tall. I'm not, it is what it is.
You saw the picture of him at Omos too, right?
Yeah, but Omos is just distortion. Like, he's so big.
I know.
Yeah.
But I'm seeing JPJ,
I love that picture.
Baron Corbin, and then
It's a great. I don't know how it hasn't gone
No,
viral. That
it's
picture.
like-
It's an incredible picture of me and Omos.
Well,
Yeah, that's what I did. I tried to copy that famous picture of the little kid that sees Andre the Giant, where he's like, I did the same, and it was about the same size difference too, because Omos was at least 1.5 feet taller than me.
Yeah, but I mean, I like the Pluggo pictures. It's like Pluggo, Baron Corbin,
Yeah.
JPJ.
Yeah.
It's so funny.
Corbin had
Well-
almost. I will say this: Corbin had, because he's a football player, so he's a big.
Yeah, he's a big
dude.
boy.
A big fella. I am a short king. Yes, that is true, Ophelia. I am a short king. Corbin probably had a foot on me. I'll leave it at that. Take that for how you want. Do your research. Maybe not an exact foot, but he probably had a good 7 anywhere between 8 to 12 inches on me. What's he, 6'6"? Maybe
6'8".
Oh shit. He had over a foot on me then. I'll leave it at that.
Oh wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
Well, you
I
could-
didn't even realize you were that short.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You never met me in person.
That's true. Yes.
I always
say-
tell people I grew the wrong way. I grew this
Well,
way.
I did too, but you still have the appearance
I
of a
went-
guy
I
who's
went-
like,
I went this way instead of this way.
well, I went this way.
Now we're doing a
and then
little
I
bit
went
of.
this
Now
way.
it's going a little bit this way. We've been doing good the last couple of years, but I grew this. I went this way.
Yeah, I did too.
There's a
Don't worry.
reason that my PlayStation Network name is the Round One 24. That's literally the Round One.
I
So,
never had the courage to do it, but I always wanted to use the Simpsons joke and make any of my names Chunky Lover 38.
yeah. You got to embrace it, man.
Yeah. Oh, I listen.
What do you
I
think?
know
What do
I
you
am.
think if you don't embrace it? People walking down the street aren't going to see you. You know what
I
I
know
mean?
what
Like
I
you
am.
just
I
gotta.
am.
You just gotta do it.
But when I'm not here, well, you can find me here every Wednesday at 10:15 with maybe Kate and Joe. We'll see if they have the courage to show up. But I'm not here. You can follow me on all socials at MarkOrderPod. And then you can follow my history blog, hereforhistory.com, @_hereforhistory on Twitter, here for history on all other socials. And with that, I'm going to try to find the media stuff to play our outro. Put the thing up,
Talk it
and
through.
then you hit outro.